How's it going, guys? Dustin at Daily Grind Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be building out some slips using the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer for PrizePicks, Underdog, ParlayPlay, whatever has value. We're going to find it, we're going to snipe it, and we're going to get the best plays off of these apps. Before we get into the video, though, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button while you're at it, because it really does help us out. We would appreciate it. Now, let's go ahead and hop over to the Optimizer, start building out some plays. Looks like we're starting here on PrizePicks first. If you guys don't know, this is the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, currently set to PrizePicks. We have all these other DFS apps that we can look into as well. But what it does is it compares sportsbooks lines and odds directly back to PrizePicks lines and odds, a very, very profitable strategy known as plus EV betting, where you're getting these really juiced plays or discounted plays in comparison to the sports books. Like right here, Giannis under 5.5 assists is set to minus 142 average odds across the sports books. Multiple books minus 140 plus. Here on the Optimizer, as you guys can see, we're getting this minus 142 play at minus 119 implied odds on PrizePicks or on PrizePicks in a 5 or 6 man flex. So therefore, you are getting an insane better bang for your buck on PrizePicks as opposed to playing this on the sports books. So instead of getting at minus 142, let's say, you get it at minus 119 on PrizePicks in a 5 or 6 man flex. So let's go ahead and start building out this slip. Austin Reaves under 24.5 fantasy score. Here is going to be our first play. Austin Reaves under 24.5 fantasy score. Now, I know that the sports books don't necessarily have a fantasy score market, but here at DGF, by taking the even lines that make up these fantasy scores across PrizePicks or Underdog, etc., we can go ahead and calculate on the back end what would be the fantasy score on these sports books. So, for instance, we do only have DraftKings at the moment because it looks like they are the only book that have everything that we need in order to compute fantasy score. And it looks like they would have this projected around 22.5 fantasy score. So off by 2 fantasy score when comparing to PrizePicks. So it seems PrizePicks is a little aggressive when comparing to the sports books. Let's go ahead and take the under of 24.5 on Austin Reaves as our first pick. Giannis under 5.5 assists is going to be our next play here on PrizePicks. I just mentioned it earlier. We are seeing that the sports books are heavily favoring this on the under, giving it a 54.68% chance to hit the under when we remove the juice from the sports books on the back end here, computing it into a fair odds percentage of 54.68. Important to know that in order to be profitable over the long term, playing 5 and 6 man flexes on PrizePicks, which is the most profitable slip type there is on PrizePicks, you have to be hitting your individual legs at above a 54.2, 54.3% in order to be profitable playing these slip types. So highly suggest getting these plays in, as they are some sharp picks. And remember, that's the average fair odds percentage. So with that being said, taking this 56.3 play, a 54.68%, we can go ahead and jump down to 54.12, 54.03, and still have a profitable slip in this, or profitable plays in this slip, because the average fair odds percentage is going to be above that 54.3% that we're needing. So let's go ahead. We can't obviously have Austin Reaves in this slip twice, so we're just going to go ahead and skip this. Hunter Dickinson over 11.5 rebounds for Kansas. We can go ahead and get that locked in for college basketball. Over 11.5 rebounds. Looks like sportsbooks are just heavily favoring the over. Average odds of minus 139 for him to go over 11.5 rebounds. Silas Demary Jr. over 4.5 rebounds. Set the 4.5 on the sports books. Juiced on the sports books. Average odds of minus 139, just like Dickinson. So let's go ahead and get that in. Oops, on the over. And then we have Mikal Bridges over 2.5 turnovers. Set to 2.5 on all the sports books. Average odds of minus 140 across these 3 sports books that do have projections for his over and unders of turnovers. So let's go ahead and add that in as well. And that is going to be a profitable 5-man slip here on PrizePicks. So bada bing, bada boom. See it here. Reaves under 24.5 fantasy score. Giannis under 5.5 assists. Dickinson over 11.5 rebounds. Demary Jr. over 4.5 rebounds. And Mikal Bridges over 2.5 turnovers. Straight from the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, guys. I'm telling you, this strategy of comparing sportsbooks, lines, and odds directly back to PrizePicks is a profitable strategy, especially over the long term, and playing them in the correct slip types, as you guys are seeing me do between 5 and 6 man flexes. All I play on PrizePicks with these plays, because take into consideration when playing on PrizePicks, if you're playing two-man powers, right? You have to be right on your individual legs 58+% of the time in order for you to be profitable playing two-man powers, as opposed to 54.3%. So about a 4% difference, you have to be right on your picks. That is a lot. That is very hard to do, being that 58% compared to almost 54%, let's say. Very hard to be right 4% more of the time. So why would you do that to yourself when you can be right less percent of the time and still be profitable, right? Let's go ahead and check on Underdog, see if there is anything we can get in on Underdog. Ooh, okay. So some borderline plays. It looks like a lot on the same team, but it's kind of correlated. So let's go ahead and build out a slip here. This is going to be right on that teetering edge, since we have a 55.79%. For Underdog, we're looking for 55% or above in 5-man flexes. So we can take Brunson under 10.5 rebounds plus assists. Now, I'm not going to want to pair that with Randall on the same team, and over and under there, rebounds and assists. But we can go down to Austin Reeves under 4.5 assists. Austin Reeves under 4.5 assists here, paired with his own teammate Cam Reddish under points. Under in points. Cam Reddish under 8.5 points. Now, this is a really solid slip, even though we might be teetering right around that 55% fair odds percentage that we're needing in 3-pick uninsured slips on Underdog, which is one of the more profitable slip types, because on PrizePicks, 3-man slips, you get paid 5x, and on Underdog, you're getting 6x return. That's why it's one of the more profitable slip types here on Underdog. So why this is such a good play? Jalen Brunson set the 9.5 on majority of sports books, heavily juiced on the one sports books that has them at 10.5 at -172 on the under there at FanDuel. Then Austin Reeves under 4.5 assists, just heavily juiced at this point to go under 4.5 at -142 for assists. Cam Reddish under 8.5 points. Once again, heavily juiced. One sportsbook, Bet Online, even has just dropped down to 7.5 points. So a 1 full point discrepancy there. But when we play Austin Reeves under assist and Cam Reddish under points together, a little bit of positive correlation when playing this slip on Underdog, right? Because if you take into consideration, if Austin Reeves is passing the ball to Cam Reddish and Cam Reddish isn't making his plays, which actually that ends up getting bumped. Cam Reddish isn't making his shots, therefore Austin Reeves less opportunities at assists when passing the ball to Cam Reddish. So slight positive correlation, but you guys get what I'm saying. If we wanted to go ahead and replace Cam Reddish, because guys, this happens like this. This is why it's important to go ahead and have the optimizer and have these profitable plays right here in front of you and get them in before the bumps, right? So it looks like right now we are getting a 5-yard discrepancy between multiple DFS apps on Christian McCaffrey under of rush yards at 85.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace this with Christian McCaffrey under 85.5 rush yards. So currently, as it stands, for the books that we have available, or these DFS apps that we have available, currently the sports books don't have a line for Christian McCaffrey's rushing yards, but when comparing to 2 other DFS apps, it's clear that those 2 DFS apps are in agreement that this should be at about 80.5 rushing yards. We get it at 80.5 here on Underdog. So let's take advantage of that and trust the 2 other ones that are in agreement as opposed to the one that's off. We get a yard discrepancy here, and then we'll wait for these sportsbook lines and odds to go ahead and drop. But currently, as it stands with the data points we have, the under on Underdog is a solid play. So let's go ahead and get that locked in as well. So boom, that's 2 slips on PrizePicks and Underdog using the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. Linked in the description if you guys want to get access to this tool. Insane results using this tool over the long term. I promise it is a profitable strategy plus EV betting. That's going to be it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's cash.